Joint Local Development Finance Authority Troy Subcommittee meeting of Monday, April 25th, 2022 to order, and ask for the roll call.
Robin Beltramini absent. Alternate Ethan Baker.
Here.
Alternate Ellen Hoderick.
Here.
And Louis Starks.
Present.
County Rep here. And is it Sandra Backer? Backus? Absent. The rest of the positions are open and vacant.
Quorum present. We are going to skip item 3, election of officers, until we have a bigger board present. So I'll move to number 4, the approval of the minutes from the October 25th, 2021 meeting. We've had them. Is there a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Hoderick, supported by Mr. Starks. That we approve the minutes from the October 25th, 2021 meeting. Any discussion on those? All right, the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those are approved. There's no old business today, so we move on to new business. Item A is the introduction of Mark Adams, Economic Development Manager. Turn it over to Mark Miller.
There's really not much of a reason to do an introduction at this point. But Mark Adams, the goal is Mark will be taking over the day-to-day administration of this board.
Okay.
And if he once we have the full board, we'll do election of officers, and he would take on, if the board wants to, the job of Secretary Treasurer.
Okay.
Very good. Well, I'll say it for the, I think, 3rd time in the meeting. I'm happy to have Mark here and look forward to working with him.
We're sorry to lose him, but we're glad he's close by.
At least he's in your biggest city in the county still, so don't.
Exactly.
He's not too far. Yeah.
Hey, we in the county, we're like.
2 peas in a pie.
Sometimes. All right, so item B is the 2022-2023 budget, and that'll be presented by City Manager Mark Miller.
Thank you. I just would like to note that we have our finance team here who worked very diligently and hard on this. In fact, though they're learning it, because for 2/3 of you, it's your first go around for this body, and for the CFO, your second, Rob, or third? Third. So I'm going to stand up because I like to stand up to do this. So I don't know if, Louis, you know that the whole purpose why we have a local development finance authority, and it was really hard to create a smart zone because we had to do it jointly with the city of Southfield, because at that time the state had a limited number of smart zones, but it was to provide assistance and to get Automation Alley off the ground. In fact, the first few years, money was dedicated directly to Automation Alley to help build the building. We provided funding for refinancing during the Great Recession. We've helped fix up the parking lot. So what happens is that there's property tax capture in the district, and we're looking at about $184,000, $215,000, and $231,000 over the 3-year budget cycle that we approved by. And because of the change in the way we deal with taxes in the state of Michigan, more specifically, I believe, and Kelly can correct me, has to do with personal property and technology, is no longer taxable, so we get a reimbursement from the state revenue share. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. It's not my expertise. So it's about $40,000 a year of additional revenue, and then we have some minor interest income. So the way that the plan is written, we take approximately 60% of our revenues, and we can see that would be $119,000, $137,000, $147,000 over the 3 separate years, and it goes to Automation Alley for day-to-day operations. This body, this TIF, actually captures considerably less money than it did before the Great Recession. Our industrial property base took a kind of a big hit. And then we have about just under 40% dedicated for infrastructure, and you can see it's like 79,000, 91,000, 98,000. Most recently, we helped repair the Automation Alley parking lot over a series of 3 years, yes. I think, over 3 years, because we didn't have enough money to do it in one shot. So later in the meeting, we'll talk a little bit about infrastructure and what we're gonna do with that a little more specifically. We sometimes set money aside for tax tribunal. We also pay the city staff just over $5,000 to administer the TIF. And then we set aside $17,500 for membership?
Foundation
Foundation membership. And then we set aside some minor fees for audit and things of that. That's pretty much about it. This is the, if we wanted to go in more detail about the tax capture, which I don't think we really need to do unless you have specific questions. But this budget is actually really simple. It's really, the TIF funds are to help Automation Alley continue to make Troy, the Detroit region and Michigan a better place and more competitive. And I think we do a good job doing that. Later in the meeting, we'll have an update from Tom Kelly, and we recommend approval of the budget, and this will go to City Council for full approval also. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Thanks, Mark. Any questions? You look like you're pondering a question.
No, I'm just anticipating that somebody's gonna have to move approval.
But is it a recommendation, or is it approval or recommendation? I mean,
Why don't you use the word approval?
Okay.
And then,
is there a motion to approve this budget?
So moved.
Support.
All right. You got who that's moved and
Yes.
supported by?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any discussion on that? In favor, say aye. Aye.
Wait, there's just one comment. Thank you.
Oh, I forgot discussion. Yeah.
The administrative piece of it that we offer is really important and, can be, I think the time everybody spends looking into everything, and we do this so quickly and administratively, but appreciate it. Yeah.
I certainly appreciate it. Very much so.
So have we talked to your staff about what your 60% will be? I know usually they contact me or Glenn. And is it still, who's your finance person?
We have a Marion Dadow
Oh,
has
still?
retired.
Okay, all right.
Oh.
Finally, so her and Bob went down to the Tigers and they're hanging out there, and she was great. She's big shoes to fill, She's been so awesome. But we have a new woman, Nicole Zappalay, and she's very, very good, trained by Marianne. So she is the person that.
So Mary Ann always wanted to know what the number would be.
Yeah,
As soon as
always.
possible.
Yep.
And I'm
always
not sure
wondered.
if you have that, have them reach out to Mark.
Okay.
And we'll get that going.
That's terrific. Yeah. Very, very appreciative.
Well, I guess that takes us right into item C, which is our Automation Alley update. Always happy to have Tom here. Take it away.
Thank you, Mayor Baker. I appreciate it very much. First off, I want to say that, I came in as the CEO in 2016, and Ken Rogers had really built Automation Alley and put his mark on it here with Brooks, and it was just a wonderful institution, and I had some big shoes to fill myself. The money that we get from Troy is critical to our funding. This budget this year was prepared. We're a nonprofit. We're expected to put our money out into the community. So we retain about $20,000 each year, at least according to this budget. And you'll see the money coming in is about $140,000. So you see, we do appreciate very much that this allows us to do even more things.
Tom, could you give like the 2-3 sentence of what you do for the staff that may not
Sure
be
thing.
familiar with Automation Alley?
Sure thing. So I need to start by saying what Automation Alley was and then where we are today. So Automation Alley was started in basically 1999, 2000 by Mark and Ken, and it was really an initiative of Brooks Patterson, and it was a way to rebrand the area. If you remember, the area was viewed as the Rust Belt, last one out of Michigan, turn out the lights, all the negative things you didn't want to hear. And Brooks said, when we did a study, we found that when you reclassify people from auto jobs to IT jobs, we're like the second richest IT market in the entire US behind Silicon Valley. We need to rebrand ourselves. So it started a branding campaign. It brought in very quickly, outside of Oakland County, 7 more counties, and it became this Southeast Michigan entity, really tasked with building brand around being a high-tech center. We did that up until 2016. When I was fortunate enough to be asked by the board to become the CEO, the executive director of Automation Alley, we kind of pivoted a little bit and said, there's a new thing happening in the world that is called Industry 4.0, and it's about the digitization of everything. So we need to move beyond being just a branding mechanism to being an organization that our manufacturers specifically, but any organization can look to help navigate this transition, that this transition is going to be deeply disruptive to all of our industries, but specifically to manufacturing. And Oakland County has an outsized relationship with manufacturing. It is the largest contributor to GDP in Oakland County. It is 20% of Oakland County's GDP. That is double the national average of GDP.
You mean the state?
Oakland County itself,
Okay.
right? Yeah, and the state is about that too. So Oakland County and the state kind of mirror each other. But that creates a lot of issues because as we digitize, we built up assets that are tied to the second industrial revolution. And so we tend to want to protect the assets we have, milk them for all they're worth. We don't want to create a lot of new investment because it creates cost, and you don't want to be in that spiral. But the world is digitizing. So it's being forced upon us in the auto industry by companies like Tesla, where we resisted, and now everybody's like, I can't spend enough money on R&D to make the transition. Unfortunately, that's not happening in the supply chain. So Ford, GM, Stellantis, they're all spending money like crazy. If you get out into the supply chain, you will find they are not spending money on new equipment. So that's why we exist, to be that light on the hill, that antagonist, if you will, almost, that says, I'm not asking anymore, I'm telling. You have to go down this path, and you have to go down as fast as possible. So that's why Automation Alley exists today. And because we started down this path, we got the attention of the World Economic Forum, which is, I don't know if there's a better global ambassador for the fourth industrial revolution and the change that is occurring than the World Economic Forum. And they saw what we were doing, and they made us an AM hub, which is an advanced manufacturing hub, the first in the world. And they've since added 12 more. We are now the leaders of all the AM hubs around the world, and that's important because you have to create a dialogue. Manufacturing is a global person's game. Even if we're all against globalization for whatever reason, manufacturing is still a global game. We have to be global because the goods flow cross-border very, very quickly and hopefully seamlessly. That's not happening today, but that's a whole other conversation outside the meeting. So that's what Automation Alley, that's what we exist to do today, is to be that steward to help shepherd as many manufacturers that are small into the lifeboats as possible. As many as possible. We're not saying we can save them all. In fact, the majority probably will not make it, the transition. Think about that, what I just said. The majority, there's 12,000 manufacturers in Michigan. We think when all this shakes out by 2030, there may be 6,000. But those 6,000, we think might be able to create lots of wealth, lots of jobs, lots of growth. So that's, we're trying to do the best we can. With what's been dealt to us.
And I want to make one comment. Tom gave the sanitized version of the beginnings of Automation Alley. I'll leave it there.
Well, I wasn't there, so
I would describe it a little bit different, but
How would you describe it?
it wasn't let's bring everybody in, that's for sure. I'll leave it there.
I gave the oration version that's been passed down from generation to generation, so I probably didn't even get it right. But yeah, I do know how.
Do you have an office in Detroit?
No,
You used to?
we eliminated that.
Yeah, but you did have one in Detroit.
We did, yeah. I think when I first came in 2016,
To my point, that would not have happened in the beginning.
It may not happen today, but that's for another conversation. Yeah, for different reasons. So did that answer your question? I hope, and that's
Well,
good.
and I think for those who are wondering what you mean by the digital world, think of 3D printers.
Yeah.
Think about steam power to electrical, industrialization, and now we're going to the next step.
Yeah.
Self-aware machines.
software, that
artificial
software
intelligence.
first. Think of it that way, software first. You see what GM's trying to do with their cars, build the Ultifi platform, Tesla's able to do software updates. That's representative of what's happening in all of industry, that you don't build hardware-specific solutions. So we used to be great at tool and die. Tool and die is the epitome of purpose-built hardware to make other hardware. It's unchangeable. Once you create that tool, you make that part forever until it's and then you change the tool out. We're getting to a world where you forget about all the tooling and you just print the part. By the way, tools are all designed to take stuff away. So you start with a bigger piece of material, you end up with a smaller piece of material. It's called subtractive. And we're very, very good at that. As we go additive,
It's funny you mentioned that way. There's a landowner in the city of Troy named Dennis Bostic, John R. Spring. I went to his warehouse in Madison Heights. It's still full of springs.
yeah, no
They
kidding.
made so many,
Yeah.
and they made so much money off of them. But the place is packed with
Yeah.
like springs that they don't use. The actual long bent ones that they don't really use anymore.
Yeah, yeah. That's just about every manufacturer you go visit. There's dusted dies on the shelf in case they need to make that part on an old vehicle that runs out of inventory in Napa or somewhere. Anyway, I digress quite much. So Mayor Baker, I'd just like to give you one project update. I have a whole bunch, but I think there's one that will define what's so cool about Automation Alley. So, under the CARES program, you may recall, we received $12 million, $10 million from Oakland County, $2 million from Macomb County. We bought 300 printers, and we distributed them, additive manufacturing printers, not HP color printers, the production-capable printers. And we distributed them to 250 small manufacturers in Oakland County, dozens in Troy here, by the way, and 50 in Macomb County. Most of these small manufacturers had never had a 3D printer before in their life. And we've been slowly, over the last 18 months, teaching them how to use these printers. We were able to get the funding under the guise that we wanted to be prepared for the next pandemic so that we could produce our own PPE and not be waiting on China to deliver them to us. Nasal swabs and face masks and whatever the case may be. So that was approved. Knowing full well we would probably never commandeer them to make PPE because by the time you get it all distributed, the crisis is past, and indeed that was the case. Fast forward to 2 weeks ago. We got a request from the Ukrainian government, heard about Project Diamond, and asked us to make tourniquets. These are clips that come with a handle that you can tighten down when a soldier gets injured or a civilian, as we know what's happening, and you have to stop the bleeding to save the life. They needed 100,000 of these tourniquets. We activated the Project Diamond Network, and those small manufacturers in 1 week made 3,400 tourniquets. And they're being shipped to Ukraine as we speak. That's the power of what we're talking about and why Automation Alley is slowly building this Project Diamond network throughout Oakland County. It's to stitch all the smalls together so they can be as innovative and as flexible as they need to be, but when they need to be big, they have 299 friends that they can call on, and that was a great example. Nobody is believing what we're doing at Automation Alley. It took this crisis to go, holy cow, these little guys behaved like GM. And in fact, GM knows about it and said, God, Tom, you don't want to know how much money it costs us to retool our plant to make face masks. We just push a button and we were making them literally the next day. And so this is the thing to take away. When you think about what does it mean to be software first? If I design in software digitally, I don't have to worry about what my tooling looks like because additively I can just push a button and I can send it to you to print, or I can send it to Ethan to print, or I can send it to Mark to print, or I can send it to all 3 of you to print, or to all 10,000 of you to print. This is where we're going, and this is what we've done, and we'll continue to do that. And it's through your partnership that we're able to fund this kind of project. Automation Alley is moving from the place where you convene to talk about problems to the place you go to solve the problem. And that's what we want to do. And that's why the World Economic Forum came to see us. And we'll have is this being recorded?
Yes.
Okay.
It is.
I'm surprised. I'm not at liberty to say we have an announcement.
I should have made my starting
Yeah.
comments.
So at the next meeting that we get together, we will have a wonderful announcement that I think Troy will be extremely proud of for Automation Alley. And we're delighted.
I gotta wait 6 months for that?
Turn the cameras off at the end, I'll tell you.
So Tom, can you just enlighten everybody, being a foundation member, what we get for that?
Yeah, so a foundation member are our members that believe in our mission. So GM is a foundation member, Ford is a foundation member, Stellantis is a foundation member, City of Troy is a foundation member, City of Southfield. We have 40 foundation members, so we are very, very appreciative. But so what the City of Troy gets is the recognition that you are on that wall with everybody that says you believe in the mission that we are doing and you support what we're able to do for those small manufacturers that all exist throughout all of Troy, right? And of course, you get things like room rental, but if you get into the actual, I don't think Troy's in it for that, right? You guys have the rooms you need.
We have utilized the training. Our HR department actually is, they didn't even know that.
Oh, you have access to all of
Right,
our
that was the
stuff.
point I was trying to make, is that
Yeah.
there are things that staff here have utilized that they had no idea that it was a resource.
Yes, we have training all the time. I couldn't even get into all the training that we have because we have something you'll be proud of. So Ken and Mark built Automation Alley, right? From nothing to about 700 members when I took over in 2016. That's pretty good, 700 members. From 2016 to 2022, we now have 1,500 members located throughout the entire state of Michigan. And it's because we're the light on the hill that says, if you need help figuring out how to make this transition, come see us. We will be as open and transparent as we possibly can, sharing with everybody. We don't have a membership mindset that is excluding. We have a mindset that says we want everybody under the tent. And that's and that includes a lot of training that we do. So everything that we're trying to do is to change the equation. Michigan since 2001, we went through that terrible time where China came on board and Michigan went off board. And we all felt that pain. And Michigan, more so than any other state in the union, felt that pain because we lost our tool and die industry. We basically lost the whole thing. And now we're at a point where, and so what happened was manufacturing consolidated. It was, the trend had started in the 90s, but manufacturing was a game for the bigs. It wasn't a game for the smalls anymore. It was a game of big capex, big machines, big production. Bigger the production, the lower the cost piece part, and China wins, China wins, China wins. We are moving, this fourth industrial revolution, we're moving to a new world that is going to be focused on distributed manufacturing and additive manufacturing. You're not going to make 1 million Barbies in China and then distribute them to every Toys R Us in America. You're going to make one Barbie at the Toys R Us that's going to have the right skin tone, that's going to have the right body shape, that's going to have the right hair color, and it's going to be made specifically for that kid, and it'll be made unique to that child. And so you don't need a big factory in China to get your costs down. The Barbie will be worth 3, 4, 5 times as much as the Barbie as it's being sold today, and the U.S. manufacturing base wins in spades. But think about it. The manufacturing, as I just described, is different than the manufacturing we do today. So we have to be open to what the new manufacturing is going to look like. And it's going to look, some of it will be in the manufacturers we have. That's why I said when we lose half our manufacturers, I'm still hopeful, because the other half gets redistributed to garages all over Troy, to gift shops all over Troy, to restaurants all over Troy. There's a guy printing chocolate. He makes unique chocolate decorations because there's machines now that print in chocolate. So there's anything you can imagine. Is that guy a manufacturer? I don't know. But this is what's coming. So you're going to lose the CapEx heavy manufacturing, and you're going to gain more light manufacturing than you could ever imagine. Because the person that is the artist, they don't get their jewelry made at a factory anymore. They just print it themselves in whatever design they want. So I was probably way too long-winded for everybody, but I thought I'd share with you, because that's a real feel-good story. Those parts shipped, we still have more coming in. We asked them, each manufacturer, to make a certain number of clips, and now we have many of the manufacturers saying, we want to continue making them. And we said, great, make as many as you want. They need 100,000 of them.
How'd they come to you, Tom? Or what was the?
So because we're a World Economic Forum Advanced Manufacturing Hub, one of our hub partners is in the Netherlands. Forgive me, it's the Netherlands or it's Denmark. It's Denmark. And they are working closely with the Ukrainian military and government. And through the World Economic Forum, the World Economic Forum said, you should call Automation Alley, because I understand they have this Project Diamond network. So because they had some printers in Denmark that were more like showpieces. Nobody in the world has built a network like we have, where we've relied on each individual manufacturer to behave as one giant manufacturer when we need them to.
I thought you were going to say the staff member that's over there. She's still over there?
Yes, so Cynthia Hutchison, she is back.
Okay.
So we had a fellow that we loaned from Automation Alley, Cynthia Hutchison, some of you may know her. She went to Geneva and spent a year running the AM hubs. And they will now be run from Automation Alley here. But the idea is we will have a perpetual fellowship opportunity. And that extends to the city of Troy. If there is somebody in the city who you think would make an excellent candidate, and you can absorb them, I mean, you keep them on payroll here, but you go and you give them global experience in like a microcosm. And like 1 year they come back and they're like, oh my God, my Rolodex is this full of world leaders. It's
Mark's trying to.
yes. There's no age on it. I mean, there's a lot of. There's a lot of. There was an executive for Johnson & Johnson. He was 54 years old, and he's like, I'm trying to revamp our supply chain. I'm taking a year off from J&J, and I'm going to spend a year at the forum because that experience will give me the knowledge to go back into J&J and make a huge impact.
And lead.
Yeah, and so that is open. Seriously, it's open to anybody who would be interested in that kind of role. So that's pretty cool.
I can think of a few people that we should send.
Yeah, that also works too. If you don't want them back, that's a problem.
Wow. Well,
Thank you for
Tom, no, thank you. I mean, honestly, you say, oh, I went on too long, please. Like, you are the highlight of the meeting, so we appreciate it. And
thank you.
it's good stuff. I mean, honestly, that sounds unimpressive to say. It's so much more than that, but honestly, that's the really, these are the stories that need to be told, and it's good for us to hear them. And I mean, this makes the budget seem like what a great return on the investment, I guess.
Exactly.
Well, that's the answer.
That's
That's the word right there.
That's it. Yeah.
And that's high praise, because I want that role to say, yes, we're good stewards of your investment. And that's what we want.
Any questions for Tom, or we kind of had a free-flowing discussion, so that was good.
Familiar with the words.
Thank you.
Ellen, you got anything?
No, I'm just, every time I hear you talk, my mind kind of gets blown, and trying to look at the world differently it helps you do that when you have those conversations. So it's valuable.
Ellen and I are both writing notes like fiends. I'm sure
Yeah.
we'll have a good conversation about it later. and
I'm
we'll come back.
really proud to have Automation Alley in Troy. And when Brooks
proud
was
of you.
starting it, I was at Delphi,
Uh-huh.
and JT had a very forward-looking view. And of course, things have changed, but it's so fascinating to me to think back to those original discussions where they were looking to the company to help invest in this new idea that didn't have a place yet. And all these years later to hear it, my mind swirls to think of that. It's,
And sometimes it's difficult. You all live in a world of voters, and sometimes it's difficult for voters to see the world full of opportunity. They only see the world full of threat, and they try and hold on to what and you say,
yeah.
let go of this because what's coming is so much bigger and will create so much more wealth, right? If you say, do you want to own Blockbuster or Netflix? Well, if you told me what Netflix would be when I was owning Blockbuster, I'd go with Netflix. But people can't see that. They can't see what the world will be. They can only see what it is. And so they kind of hold on to that. And so you have sometimes a very tough role in trying to get people to say, this is so much opportunity here, so much wealth to be created in the city of Troy. And we just have to,
Well, change creates fear.
yeah, it does. Yeah.
And this is a sea change, so.
However, can I say one other thing, Mayor? I'm sorry, but so the young people that are in your high schools today, they're already fully digital.
Yeah.
You feel their frustration when you talk with them. That they're like, I want to move on into this great big new world full of opportunity, and you want me to go work in that little manufacturer that does this little thing day in and day out? We need to teach the manufacturer how to unburden themselves and say, yes, come on, be creative. We will make what you create. We will be in this together. That's how we're going to keep young people. Because the young people have already moved past us. They've already moved.
When I'm already seeing videos and snippets from the school district, elementary schools are already there. These kids are conceiving of, and I'll look at these pictures and read about it and think, I can't believe what they're doing in an elementary school classroom. And so I get it. And anything we can do to help enable, our job is to help enable our community to be successful. And that comes from being as visionary as we can be. Government moves slowly. This is a way for us to be part of something that helps just keep moving the community forward, in my mind. So, and we are being videotaped, so here I am talking away. But we can move on in the meeting, but this is,
It's good stuff, Ellen.
it's wonderful.
No one's watching.
To be able to ideate for a bit, right? We will talk, yeah.
No, well, listen, I mean, part of our job is to tell the stories, to get people to understand, right?
Yes.
So we commit to that, I guess, is the,
Yeah.
I've got a State of the City address coming up next month, and good opportunity to talk about things like
If
this.
you want some backstory on who's using 3D printers in your community, we're happy to provide it.
I'll talk to you.
Yeah.
Already written down.
good. Yeah.
For sure.
I don't even need to talk to you now.
Yeah, we still. So,
I just want to comment. It's a tough nut to crack, but when you talk about the school system and you talk about manufacturers and you're talking about going on retention calls like we do when you call on the companies, and one thing that we've been hearing for a number of years is, it's very, very difficult, is that we're trying to make that transformation to let the kids know and let the school system know also that now, you're not doing what your dad did in the factory, you're programming a robot.
Right.
So those types of technical skills, it's not all greasy and dirty, and you get good at it, you can make $100,000 a year. I've been to companies that went into Tim Hortons and took a person out and taught her how to program a robot. And I've used that as an example a lot of times when, I'm talking to the school system over the years, or talking to a business that, we got to stop thinking of only the 4-year college.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I would just say ditto to that. I mean, I actually came to Oakland County from Wayne County Community College District, and primarily worked on industry-wide certifications and demand-driven training. And I think I would like to see it, to be quite honest with you, from a presidential and governor level, where we talk about these new jobs, Mark, because I think when we look at college debt, into the billions approaching trillions of dollars, and which has burdened so many of our young people, we've got to start looking at things differently.
yes. All right, well, that concludes the Automation Alley update. Next up is a discussion of potential smart zone infrastructure projects.
Yeah, I just want to talk a little bit about this. So the history to when the Smart Zone LDFA was created, initially there were substantial dollars put towards Automation Alley for the construction of the building. That was the infrastructure. We've put money towards roads in that area, and then we went back to the parking lot. So this year, we're putting the money towards roads in that area as part of our capital plan. But I want, Tom, you to think about what your needs are, and anyone else, if there are other needs that we could dedicate these dollars for in the future. It's not just about this year, it's also going off in future years also. We can always dump it in our capital plan for roads in that area, but if there are other specific things, please let us know.
And by roads, Mark, do you also mean like the getting across Big Beaver Road
Yeah.
as well? That's a big portion of it, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, we were gonna do that, and then Altair said that they wanted to redevelop their campus, and then COVID hit and everything stopped.
Yeah.
You talk about some fast charging stations? Are you guys still?
You know, I looked into it. This was with Glenn before he retired, and
They're expensive.
they're outrageously expensive. I was assuming they'd be $100,000. It was $300,000 to put in the DC fast charger, the one that takes 15 minutes, because I thought that is consistent with our mission and would be such an asset for the city of Troy.
Right.
To have a DC fast charger at a public location, people could come in and charge up all, it's a little out of reach. I'm hoping that maybe I come back next year and say, hey, they're down to 150,000. Maybe we can do that over 2 years and get them put in. But I think it's out of reach. When you consider the better alternative uses of that funding and the fact that these will come down in price, I don't want to push that request.
But I'm glad you just brought that up, that Glenn was working with you with alternative infrastructure things.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, and I always continue, is it you, Mark? Who should I work with?
Mark?
Oh, Mark, okay, Mark. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because Glenn would reach out and we'd meet and talk about, what do you think we should do? And so I'll be happy to.
I know Borg Warner got an ED grant for a fast charging station that they're going to have. And I know Borg Warner has operation here somewhere in Troy. Because I made a comment and they said that you're not getting rid of us yet. Operation in Troy. But anyway, just to mention, I think, that's where the world is going. Even though it may be cost prohibitive, maybe it is something to look at next year. I know Oakland County is probably going to put some money into it too.
Yeah, we're doing that, the Detroit Regional Partnership, we're sort of spearheading the Region 10 study in terms of EV charging stations, so.
If we can be useful, please let us know. Because it may be something where we can use a little bit from the city of Troy and a little bit from Oakland County, a little bit from some fund, and all of a sudden you've made it.
Rob can help us match money and make magic.
Thank you, Rob.
Well, I've talked to Dave Coulter about this.
Okay.
Every time I see him, I talk to Haley Stevens about it from the federal level every time. So I think maybe and they're all into it, right? They all think this is the great place to have it, right?
Because we've already got a charging station there.
Right.
So people are already coming there
Right.
to charge their vehicles. So it makes sense that you just add a fast charging. And we have the 480 volts. Very few places have the industrial infrastructure. Because we're in an industrial park, we already have the 483 phase there.
Yeah, because Borg Warner got an EDA grant, and they're going to use it for Barton Mallow's fleet in Oak Park.
Nice.
I was involved with that before I left.
That's cool too.
What we might be able to do is all this extra federal and state dollars are flying around, we consider a project at Omation Alley.
Well, I left out the state, but McMorrow and Pop Koopa are
They're
way into
all
it too. So
They're all
everyone who
about it.
represents this area would love to do something with it. We just have to figure out how to actually coordinate it, and we should involve you.
Well, and by all means, wherever you find a place, get it in.
Yeah.
It's useful because we have this infrastructure money that sort of has to stay within that LDFA zone.
Yeah.
So, we're happy to participate, and that we thought that might be a good, useful project. So we wouldn't be complaining. If you said, Tom, we're going to take all your money, we're going to use it to put a high-speed charging station at your facility, we'd be thrilled.
It's a rare opportunity when you can sit pretty confidently and say all the policymakers, decision makers that would need to come in, we're all on the same page. It's just how do we flip this and make it happen? So we need to take advantage of that.
All right, Louis, now you know I'm at Troy. give me all that Oakland County money.
Well, you do, I mean, in all seriousness, you do have to look at who are championing these concepts, because see, the other part of this, which is not so much, but it's related, which is educating the CVs and Ts, as we say at Oakland County, because it's not just the charging stations, it's some of the industrial elements as well, so, well, who wants a battery making plant? Who doesn't want a battery making plant? And what does that look like? So there's environmental issues.
Nobody in Oakland County wants that battery making plant. I can tell you that real easy.
But those are the things that you have to have those discussions, right? So you don't make assumptions, because, there's an obvious tendency to follow this money, and there's a ton of money out there. So, I mean, so you gotta follow that money to a certain extent.
All right, we've had a lot of board member comment, but this is a long LDFA meeting, actually. For these meetings, this is pretty long, but no, I mean, anything kind of.
I didn't have anything
We've
else
been
to add,
free talking, so. I'll just, again, say, Tom, I appreciate your update and the information you give us, and we're happy to continue to support all the good work you're doing, and Ellen and I will work on doing a better job of sharing it with the community so they understand it. I mean, just because it is a good, these stories you give are real world stories people can understand. I mean, last year we talked about taking the manufacturing part from $100 per unit down to $2, right, with Project Diamond. I mean, people understand that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
They're going to understand the Ukraine stuff. And I'm sure you've got, like you said, a list of other stories.
Were you at Dave Coulter's State of the
Yeah.
County, and when he talked about that, there was a visible gasp in the audience. I was like, yes,
Yeah.
we got him.
What was interesting to me, though, is that's old news.
Yeah.
Right? That story's old.
Yeah.
I mean, I talked about it last year.
Well, we gave you the inside scoop.
Oh, that's fine. But I mean, still, the fact that like there was a gasp of people, that it tells you how
slow.
people don't understand yet.
It takes a long time to get people to understand
Yeah.
What's happening?
what's happening. Yeah.
But even my son's a 7th grader, and their technology classes, they have a 3D printer. They're making stuff,
Yeah.
and they're programming it, and I have no idea what he's talking about half the time, right? I mean, but
As they
but
should.
it's what they're doing, right? I mean, so they're coming up with that knowledge, so.
And the
exciting.
flip side is, why doesn't every 7th grade school
Right.
classroom have a 3D printer, right?
Right.
So that's the hill we still have to climb.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't see anybody here for public comment. That means we're ready to adjourn, so we'll adjourn.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mayor Baker. Thanks, everybody.